Welcome and thank you for joining today's webinar on the Housing Alliance Voter Engagement Initiative. The Housing Alliance is a statewide coalition working to increase safe, decent, and affordable homes for all Pennsylvanians. We work to fulfill our vision for a home within reach through state and federal policy advocacy, opportunities to connect, share, and learn from your peers, events, and our annual Homes Within Reach conference. If you aren't a member, we ask that you consider joining. You can visit the website to join as a member, or you can contact info@housingalliancepa.org for more information on membership. Today's webinar will run approximately 30 minutes, including question and answer. Attendees will be muted for the entire webinar. If you want to ask the presenters a question, please use the Q&A function. The chat function is only to ask Housing Alliance logistical questions about the webinar. Again, please use the Q&A feature for questions to the presenters. We will email you a recording of this presentation and any associated materials in approximately a week's time. And please be sure to regularly check our events calendar for any upcoming webinars or events as they get posted. Also, just as a general announcement, starting July 1st, the Housing Alliance will revert to our practice of providing free webinars to paid members and charging non-members $25 per webinar. Also, please be sure to save the date for our annual Homes Within Reach conference, December 7th through the 9th in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Our theme for the conference this year is a stronger, more equitable tomorrow. And please be sure to check out some of the Housing Alliance latest resources. Of course, when we think about civic engagement, we think about what are the policies that we're trying to advance. So if you want to learn more about the Fair Advocacy Initiative, please be sure to check out our website on that. You can learn more about our State Housing Trust Fund, the great impact that it's had on Pennsylvania, and ways for you to get involved in helping to grow that fund. We've also updated our 2022 county housing fact sheets, so please be sure to check those out. And of course, to look at our full policy agenda, you can find that on our website as well. And with that, I am going to pass it over to Phyllis Chamberlain, the Executive Director of the Housing Alliance.
Thanks, Gail, and hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. So since we're in a webinar and we can't see each other, it would be great if people could introduce yourselves in the chat. Tell us who you are, what organization you're with, if you're affiliated with one. And as a panelist, I actually can't tell if you can chat everybody or if you only have the ability to chat the panelists. So hopefully you can chat everybody so everybody can see who's joined. But if you can't, sorry about that. I didn't check to see if that was enabled. So again, chat everyone if you can. If you can't, just chat the panelists. So today we're going to be pretty short and sweet. We want to talk about how we would like to work with organizations across the state leading up to the 2022 election. And I can't share my screen and talk at the same time, so hold on. So we want to talk about ways that we would like to work with your organizations to support voter registration and education efforts leading up to the 2022 election. And we are going to talk a little bit about who we want to work with, why we're doing this, what we're doing, and how we'd like to know if you all would like to participate. So I'm going to talk for a few minutes, but then I'm going to introduce Jennifer Santiago, who is here who is with HDC Mid-Atlantic, who's going to talk a little bit about how they've approached this work with their residents and what they're also considering doing. So thank you to Jennifer in advance for being here. And then I also want to introduce Jen Thomas, who works here at the Housing Alliance with me. And if Jen, if you just want to take yourself off, put yourself on video so you can smile and wave. So I want people to know Jen because she is going to be taking the lead on this initiative, and a number of you may have worked with her previously on our Listen and Act initiative. So that's Jen. All right, so I want to start with who are we looking to engage? So there are a number of ways that you could decide to participate in this initiative with us. We're looking for any organization that provides affordable housing or homeless services, and there are different types of organizations that do that. So your organization might be a nonprofit, you might be a subsidized housing property owner or manager, you might be a housing authority, and then I put others because maybe there's another type of organization with whom you're affiliated that I didn't include here. Other types of service organizations, maybe outside of the housing and homeless services fields, civic organizations, and the whole point of working with all of you is to engage the people you are assisting or who are residents and tenants who are living in your property. And again, our goal here is voter registration and education. So why are we doing this? Leading up to the 2020 election, the Housing Alliance partnered with a national group called Nonprofit Vote. Note that you didn't need to be a nonprofit organization to participate then, and you don't need to be a nonprofit to participate now. But as part of that initiative, we worked with 19 local groups who engaged over 4,600 voters, which is a lot of people to engage for a somewhat small number of 19. And as part of our partnership with Nonprofit Vote, they did an analysis to look at what was the likely impact of this initiative. And what they found was that our initiative, so this is Pennsylvania specific information, that our initiative boosted turnout among low-income voters, and it also boosted turnout among those who were unlikely to vote. In addition, the work that these 19 organizations did turned out people who are among those that are generally underrepresented when you look at voting data. So people were more likely to be people of color. They were more likely to not just be low income, but to be very low income, and they were more likely to have a college degree. So again, this data shows that the work that we did together, and really those 19 groups did leading up to the 2020 election, really did make a difference in terms of boosting turnout. So there are a lot of other reasons why we want to do this work again, and why I'm sure you all either have done it in the past or are interested in doing it this year. In addition to all those reasons, we also know that people are more likely to participate in registering to vote and actually going to the polls when they're contacted by someone they know. And this is research also that Nonprofit Vote did. So someone they know includes friends, neighbors, but it also includes community-based organizations. And that's why we are wanting to work with you again, leading up to the 2022 election. All right, so what is it that what is it that we want to do? So your role would be to identify ways that you could provide voter registration materials and information to people you serve. That also does include not just asking people to vote, because maybe they're already not just ask people to register to vote, but also helping people update their voter registration if that's needed, and or pledging to vote. And we have a form that Jen Thomas sent out via email earlier today, and we'll give you the link here in case you didn't see that email. And it's a form that basically walks through what are the different ways that you might be able to do this, taking into account what are some of the things that you regularly do. So you could include voter registration materials and information in any regular contact that you have with clients or residents. So as an example, if you conduct intakes on a regular basis, to identify if people can participate in your services, you could include voter registration in that information. You could set up a table in a community room if you have properties where people are living. And or you could provide voter registration materials at a community event. So these are just a few ways that you could think about approaching this. And for those of you who have participated previously in this type of initiative, maybe these are some of the ways that you've done that. So what are we going to do? So we're going to provide you with a kit with basically everything you need. We're also going to provide a training on how to talk about voter registration, and what you could say and also what you shouldn't say. In leading up to the 2020 election, our initiative involved convening partners. So we'd like to do that again. And importantly, we'd like to highlight your efforts. So that would be a way for you to show your community, your stakeholders, your funders, the good work that you're doing. We do have some small stipends available. And if you're interested and you fill out the form that again we sent this morning, and I'll include the link in the chat, you might be eligible for that. The highest stipend is $2,000. The lowest stipend might be $50. So it's not as if it's a major grant. It's just a small way for us to help you participate in this initiative. And if you receive the stipend, there are some things that we are asking you to do, like submitting data on who you've reached. But in terms of the way that funding is used, you could purchase refreshments for any in-person events that you might have, but you could use it however you'd like to use it. And then finally, including your organization in the outcomes analysis that I just showed you, that was done by Nonprofit Vote after the 2020 election. So part of what we'll do through this initiative, if you choose to participate, is make sure you have information on what your nonprofit, if that's who you represent, can and can't do. And then also, what if you represent a housing authority, what housing authorities can and can't do. So I'm not going to do this topic full justice, but as you're thinking about whether or not you might want to participate with us, I just want to give you some information and some links to resources about what 501c3 nonprofit organizations can do, and then what they're prohibited from doing. So a nonprofit organization can absolutely conduct or promote voter registration. You can encourage people to vote. You can help people understand what the voting process is. And you can remind people of registration deadlines and encourage them to vote. So this is all stuff that nonprofits can't do. Nonprofits are limited in some ways by the IRS, but the main limitation is that a nonprofit can't endorse a candidate. And again, as part of this initiative, we'll provide some talking points and training on, in a conversation with a candidate or with a voter, like what would be some ways to talk about the fact that you can't endorse a candidate. Can't make campaign contributions, can't rank candidates based on their policy platforms. And then nonprofits can conduct get out the vote activities as long as no one is suggesting who to vote for or who not to vote for. I will say that as individuals, people can do lots of these things, but in representing a nonprofit, you just can't do this stuff. So that really means that we're not able to influence how people vote. So the point of this initiative is really encouraging people to vote, telling them that their vote matters. What can housing authorities do? So HUD recently sent some information out to housing authority executive directors, and the link for the full notice is included on this slide. But basically what they clarified is that housing authorities can promote voter registration, can run a voter registration drive, can provide documentation for public housing residents to use for their address, and can use their space to promote this type of nonpartisan activity. And again, if you represent a housing authority and you follow that link, in case you haven't seen the memo, which came out, I believe, early February of this year, you can see the full list of what they indicated is possible for housing authorities. All right, so with that, I'm going to stop talking for a few minutes and invite Jennifer Santiago, who again is the Resident Services Supervisor with HDC Mid-Atlantic, to share a little bit with us about HDC's efforts.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having us on here. We're excited to share what we've been doing and what we have planned. So I have a PowerPoint here. Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Great. And so a little bit about HDC is that we have over 4,000 residents in 55 communities based in Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Maryland, across urban, rural, and suburban areas, serving seniors, families, and people with special needs. We are trusted resident advocates, developers, property managers, community partners, and collaborators. Our mission is to build hope and opportunity for all residents to reach their full potential by creating, preserving, and strengthening affordable housing communities. Our vision is for a world where a safe, welcoming, affordable place to call home is open to everyone. We believe that housing is a human right and the cornerstone of growth and stability for individuals and families. So here is just a map of our footprint. Okay, so in 2021, we started our voter registration initiative, and we were it's very in our infancy stage. So we had just general outreach to our community managers and resident services coordinators, where we created a state-based toolkit. So as you saw on the map in the previous slide, we're in 3 different states. So in that toolkit, we included deadline flyers and voter registration forms. And so what we learned as a result of that is that we need to build in more communication with our internal and external partners and our stakeholders, which was our residents and our employees, to continue to build partnerships like through
So someone just messaged that Jennifer froze. Can you, Gail, can just confirm that you can hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. All right, so sorry about that. Hopefully she'll come back, but let me keep talking and give you the last part of what I wanted to share, and then hopefully Again, Jennifer will come back and we can continue hearing about HDC's efforts. So let me share my screen again. Oh, that's not it. All right. So if you are interested in participating or if you want more information, send me and Jen Thomas an email just to let us know that. And then also fill out the participation form that I put the participation form is in SurveyMonkey. I put a link to it in the chat in case you didn't receive the email from Jen. And basically the form walks you through some of the ways that you could engage, and then also asks you to estimate the number of people that you might be able to reach through those efforts. So it's going to ask you, could you include voter registration and pledge to vote cards in regular interactions? Can you schedule a special event? Are you already doing a community event where you might be able to promote registration, but also could you encourage staff, board, and/or volunteers to register or pledge to vote? And again, this is the SurveyMonkey link. Jennifer, I'm glad you're back. So you want to pick up? I just started talking a little bit more for people to how to let us know they want to participate, but you want to pick up on where you were?
I do. And can you tell me where I was? Because our power went out and that meant the internet.
Oh,
and it went right back on.
So you were showing the map.
Oh, okay. I was right in the beginning. Okay. I do apologize. Let's see. Okay. So here we have a map of our communities. As I said in the slide before, we're in three different states. Okay, so let's see. In 2021, we started our voter registration initiative, but it was very much in this infancy idea phase. But we wanted to make sure that we still got information out there to our residents. So we focus on general outreach by providing our community managers and our resident services coordinators with state-based toolkits that included flyers and voter registration forms. But we learned from that is that we needed to communicate more with our staff as well as our residents and external partners, and making sure that we were building connections like through PA Housing Alliance and educate our employees. So HDC has a commitment to supporting resident engagement and advocacy. And part of that commitment is to engage residents in advocacy opportunities to use their voice, make changes that are important to them outside of housing, like health and education, and building skills through leadership development opportunities, and amplify resident voices through storytelling. So we use our storytelling story bank in conversations with elected officials, and recently our residents participated in a Lancaster County Planning Commission meeting for a project that we're building in this area. So this year, HDC's 2022 voter registration goal is to increase resident participation in the democratic and election process as a key step in advocating for their own interests and needs. So how will we get there? Our hope is that we're going to start with our workforce or our workplace. And currently we offer our employees 2 hours of PTO to vote and reminders to vote on the election days. We are planning on offering our employees a training focused on voter rights and equity, and that's through YWCA's Lancaster Center for Racial and Gender Equity, as well as training our resident services and community manager staff on the voter registration process, and some internal changes that are going to happen. So organizationally, we're going to offer residents the forms in communal areas. Voter registration forms will be included in the move-in and recertification packets. Our resident services coordinators will also have a question that they'll ask residents at their initial contact, as well as every year they do an annual assessment. So the question is, would you like to register to vote or update your address? We are also planning on voter registration drives, partnering with nonpartisan organizations, and our 3 priority areas. So our density areas are Chester, Berks, and Lancaster counties, and develop our state-based toolkits with the flyers and helpful resources and forms. And that is all. So I will stop sharing, and thank you again for having us.
Great, thanks, Jennifer. So HDC does a really great job around resident services in general. So I just want to say that that's why I wanted Jennifer to join us. But I think helping people think about like how an actual organization is doing this is great. So so thank you for that, and I'm glad we got you back very quickly. So if we only have a few minutes left, if people have any questions, please put them in the chat. I also put Jen Thomas's email. So her email address has her full name, Jennifer. So I put her email in the chat. And then I also put the link to the survey, which is the way to tell us that you might be interested in exploring this. So if you're not sure how to participate, whether to participate, I just really want to say a few more times, please reach out to Jen and or me, and we're happy to walk through it. It does look like we do have a question. So someone is saying that they're looking at the form and they're wondering if there's a minimum number of people that we're looking for them to engage. And the answer is no, that probably the best way for some of you to do this, if you are a service oriented or a housing provider, is to figure out how to include it in your regular interactions with people. And so really thinking about how many unique people you come into contact with each month would be the best way to do this. Although certainly some folks might want to schedule community events and might be able to reach a higher number of people. So with that, given that it's noon, we're gonna end our conversation today. Let us know if you want to participate. And for those of you that end up participating, thank you for making voter registration a priority. The people that you serve that are living in your properties are often people that have had a lot of struggles, and telling them that their voice matters through voting can be pretty powerful. So I hope that you choose to participate. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to Jennifer Santiago. Thanks to Gail and Jen here at the Housing Alliance. Have a great day.